If you've noticed your memory slipping more than it used to, if you walk into a room and forget why you're there, or if words sometimes escape you mid-sentence and no doctor seems to take it seriously, stay with me for the next few minutes, because what I'm about to share may explain why your brain is struggling, and more importantly, how to stop the decline before it becomes irreversible. This is not about accepting cognitive decline as normal aging. This is about protecting your brain while you still can. Let me make you a clear promise right away. By the end of this article, you will understand the single worst poison attacking seniors' brains today. A poison most people are exposed to every single day without realizing it. And you'll know exactly what puts you at risk and what needs to change. Not someday, now. I'm Dr. Linda Harrison. I've spent decades treating seniors with memory problems, brain fog, confusion, difficulty concentrating, and something many are told they must just live with: cognitive decline. And one of the most frustrating things I see is how often people are told the wrong story about why their brains are failing. They're told it's age, they're told it's genetics, they're told it's inevitable. In many cases, none of that is true. So now I want to ask you one clear question, and this is your call to action. Have you experienced memory loss, confusion, or difficulty focusing? And did you realize chronic inflammation could be destroying your brain cells even if you don't have a diagnosed condition? Write your answer in the comments section, because awareness is the first line of defense, and once brain damage crosses a certain line, we don't get second chances. Let me tell you about a patient named Margaret. Margaret was 72 years old, a former teacher, still sharp in many ways, but her memory was failing. She forgot appointments. She repeated herself in conversations. Sometimes she felt a mental fog that made even simple tasks feel overwhelming. She was told it was probably normal aging, maybe stress, maybe just one of those things. But when we dug deeper, we found something else. A daily exposure, something she thought was harmless, was slowly poisoning her brain. When we removed it, the damage didn't reverse overnight, but it stopped getting worse. And that changed everything for her. Here's the open loop I want you to hold on to. What was that poison? And how many seniors are unknowingly feeding it every single day? To answer that, you need to understand something fundamental about the brain. The brain is living tissue. It is not a computer. It is a delicate organ that relies on oxygen, nutrients, and stable internal chemistry to function. Unlike many other organs, brain cells regenerate very slowly or not at all. That means damage accumulates quietly over time. Long before you experience serious memory loss, confusion, or cognitive impairment, your brain may already be under attack. Now, here's where things start to get uncomfortable. The worst poison devouring seniors' brains is not something dramatic like heavy metals or rare toxins. It's not even stress by itself. The worst poison is something far more common, something many seniors consume regularly without question. The worst poison destroying your brain is chronic inflammation from processed seed oils. And this is critical to understand. You do not need to have a brain disease diagnosis for inflammation to destroy your brain cells. You only need repeated exposure. And millions of seniors experience that exposure every day without knowing it. When highly refined seed oils are consumed regularly, they create oxidative stress and inflammatory compounds that cross into brain tissue. This damages neurons, disrupts communication between brain cells, and destroys the protective coating around neural pathways. Over time, the brain loses its ability to process information efficiently. That's when memory lapses start, then confusion, then difficulty concentrating, then word-finding problems, then serious cognitive decline. One of the biggest myths in senior health is that dementia and cognitive decline suddenly show up. They don't. They develop silently, often for years, while the poison keeps working in the background. Let me ask you something important. Have you ever been told your cholesterol is fine, your blood pressure is controlled, but you still feel like your thinking isn't as sharp as it used to be? That's often where brain damage begins. In fact, studies now show that chronic inflammation damages brain cells years before any diagnosis is made. The difference is that most people with early brain inflammation don't know they have it. Now, I want to pause here because this is where many people say, "But I eat healthy and I believe you." Most of my patients believe that too. That's the problem. The poison is not obvious. It hides inside foods and habits that sound healthy on the surface. Let me walk you through how this poison works step by step. You eat something cooked in or containing processed seed oils. Your body metabolizes these oils into inflammatory compounds. Over time, these compounds accumulate in tissues, including the brain. Brain cells become inflamed and damaged. The blood-brain barrier, which normally protects the brain, becomes weakened. More inflammatory molecules enter brain tissue. Communication between neurons slows down, memory formation becomes impaired, and because this happens gradually, people don't connect the dots. They say things like, "It came out of nowhere," when in reality, it's been building for years. Here's another open loop. If seed oil toxicity is so damaging, why don't all seniors who consume them get dementia? The answer is exposure frequency, duration, and brain resilience. Some brains tolerate abuse longer than others, but once damage crosses a certain threshold, symptoms appear and they often accelerate quickly. Now, let's talk about where this poison comes from in daily life. The first major source is restaurant food and takeout. Nearly everything is cooked in soybean oil, canola oil, corn oil, or other highly refined seed oils. These oils are cheap, which is why restaurants use them extensively. But when heated repeatedly, they become even more toxic. Seniors are often told eating out is convenient and social. In reality, it's one of the fastest ways to poison brain tissue. The second major source is packaged and processed foods. Crackers, cookies, chips, salad dressings, frozen meals, margarine, and even many so-called healthy snacks contain these oils. Check any ingredient label and you'll see them: soybean oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, vegetable oil. These break down into compounds that directly damage brain cells. Seniors are often advised to eat convenient prepared foods, but convenience often means brain toxicity. Those oils have nowhere to go except into your bloodstream and into brain tissue. The third source is cooking at home with the wrong oils. Many seniors were taught that vegetable oils are heart healthy. They cook with them daily, they use them in baking, they drizzle them on salads. But these oils oxidize easily, especially when heated, creating compounds that inflame and damage delicate brain tissue. This is why home cooking with these oils is especially harmful for brain health. The brain needs stable conditions to survive. Constant inflammatory exposure keeps neurons damaged. Now, here's a piece most people never hear. Some medications can quietly worsen brain damage by interfering with nutrient absorption, especially B vitamins and magnesium. Certain acid-blocking medications, blood pressure drugs, and cholesterol medications can deplete nutrients essential for brain health over time. B vitamins are essential for maintaining brain cell function and neurotransmitter production. Without them, brain cells become dysfunctional and cognitive decline accelerates. Let me tell you about Robert. He had severe brain fog and memory problems for years. Doctors blamed aging. When we tested his nutrient levels, he was severely deficient in B12 and folate. The cause wasn't his diet. It was a combination of medications he had taken faithfully for years and chronic inflammation from seed oils. Once corrected and the oils removed, his brain fog lifted significantly, not reversed completely, but improved. And that made all the difference. Cognitive decline is rarely caused by one thing alone. It's usually a combination of chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, nutrient depletion, and poor blood flow to the brain. But seed oil inflammation is the accelerant. It's the gasoline on the fire. This matters because brain cells have a tipping point. Early damage may cause mild forgetfulness or occasional brain fog. Later damage causes serious memory loss, confusion, personality changes, and loss of independence. Once brain cells die, they are extremely difficult to regenerate. That's why stopping the poison early is so critical. Here's the part I want you to hear clearly. Cognitive decline is not always reversible, but in many cases, it is preventable from getting worse, and that alone can preserve your quality of life. Which brings us to the most important question, and this is where part 2 begins. If seed oil inflammation is the poison, what neutralizes it? What protects brain cells? And what simple changes can seniors make to stop brain damage from progressing? In the next part, I'll show you how to identify hidden sources of inflammatory oils, the single eating rule that protects your brain, the nutrients brain cells desperately need after 60, and how to tell whether your cognitive decline may still be in the reversible stage. Now, let's talk about the part that actually gives you power. If chronic inflammation from seed oils is the poison quietly devouring your brain, what neutralizes it? What protects brain tissue? And what can you realistically do? Not as a medical professional, not as a nutrition expert, but as a senior who wants better memory, clearer thinking, and a future with more mental independence. This is where many people expect complicated answers. They expect extreme diets, expensive treatments, or miracle supplements. The truth is far simpler, and that's why it's so often overlooked. The first and most important step in protecting your brain is eliminating inflammatory seed oils, not reducing them gradually, not using them occasionally, but removing them completely from your diet. Brain cells don't need perfection in every area, but they desperately need freedom from chronic inflammation. Every exposure to these toxic oils is like a small chemical assault on brain tissue. Fewer exposures mean less damage. That alone can slow or even halt progression. Here is the single most important rule I teach seniors with cognitive decline, and it's one most people have never heard. Never cook with or consume processed seed oils. Not soybean oil, not canola oil, not corn oil, not vegetable oil, not sunflower oil, not safflower oil. These oils oxidize rapidly, especially when heated, creating compounds that cross directly into brain tissue. Brain cells cannot defend themselves against this kind of sustained inflammatory attack. But when you cook with stable fats like olive oil, coconut oil, butter, or animal fats, inflammation drops dramatically. The same meal that harms your brain when cooked in seed oils becomes far safer when cooked correctly. This rule alone explains why some seniors develop severe cognitive decline while others don't. Even with similar lifestyles, it's not always what you eat, it's what you cook it in. Let me give you a real example. A woman, Patricia, 76 years old, came to see me because she was forgetting conversations and feeling mentally exhausted by mid-afternoon. She felt confused and worried she was developing dementia. She believed she was eating healthy. Every day, she cooked her vegetables in vegetable oil, used margarine on her toast, and ate salads with store-bought dressing loaded with soybean oil. What she didn't realize was that the inflammatory oils were crossing into her brain tissue before her neurons had any protection. We removed all seed oils from her kitchen, replaced them with olive oil and butter, switched to oil-free or olive oil-based dressings, and emphasized whole foods. Within weeks, her mental clarity improved, her memory sharpened, and her energy lasted longer. Nothing magical happened. We simply stopped poisoning her brain. The second major step is avoiding packaged and processed foods entirely whenever possible. No packaged snacks, no frozen dinners, no fast food. Even foods marketed as healthy often contain inflammatory seed oils hidden in the ingredient list. Seniors often rely on packaged foods because they're convenient, quick, and don't require much preparation. Unfortunately, they're one of the fastest ways to worsen cognitive decline. If you want convenience, prepare simple whole foods at home using safe fats. A piece of fish cooked in olive oil with vegetables is faster than most people think and infinitely safer for your brain. This one change alone can dramatically reduce brain inflammation. The third step is nutrient protection, and this is critical. Brain cells require specific nutrients to maintain their structure and function. Chief among them are the B vitamins, especially B12, B6, and folate. These vitamins are essential for producing neurotransmitters, maintaining myelin sheaths around neurons, and supporting overall brain cell health. Without enough B vitamins, brain cells become dysfunctional, communication breaks down, and cognitive decline accelerates. Many seniors are deficient in these vitamins without knowing it, especially those taking certain medications. But B vitamins are not the only nutrients brains depend on. Magnesium supports neurotransmitter function and protects against excitotoxicity. Omega-3 fatty acids, especially DHA, are structural components of brain cell membranes. Antioxidants like vitamin E protect brain tissue from oxidative stress. These nutrients don't cure brain damage, but they help stabilize and protect what remains. Now, here's an important caution: more is not better. Some vitamins, especially in synthetic forms or excessive doses, can create imbalances. This is why testing and guidance matter. Guessing can be harmful. The fourth step is reducing all sources of chronic inflammation beyond seed oils. Inflammation sensitizes brain tissue and amplifies cognitive symptoms. It turns mild forgetfulness into severe confusion and memory loss. Highly processed foods, excess sugar, refined carbohydrates, and artificial additives all fuel inflammation. On the other hand, foods like fatty fish, leafy greens, berries, nuts, olive oil, and spices such as turmeric help calm inflammatory pathways. Less inflammation means a healthier, more resilient brain. The fifth step is movement, but not the kind most people fear. You do not need intense exercise to protect your brain. In fact, extreme exercise can create oxidative stress. What the brain needs is consistent, moderate activity. Gentle walking, especially outdoors, helps improve blood flow to the brain and supports the removal of inflammatory waste products. Even 15 minutes of daily walking can make a difference. Movement is medicine when done correctly. At this point, I want to address something important. Many seniors feel discouraged when they hear brain damage is difficult to reverse. That's true. Neurons regenerate very slowly, if at all. But stopping progression is just as powerful as reversing damage. Better memory, clearer thinking, improved mood, fewer moments of confusion, those changes matter. One of the most harmful beliefs seniors are given is that nothing can be done about cognitive decline. That belief itself becomes dangerous. I've seen people give up early only to worsen rapidly because the poison was never removed. Let me share another story. A man in his late 60s came to me feeling like he was losing his mind. He was forgetting important dates, struggling to follow conversations, and feeling mentally slow. He had been told his cognitive decline was inevitable. When we eliminated seed oils from his diet, corrected nutrient deficiencies, and supported his brain with anti-inflammatory foods, his cognitive function improved enough that he regained confidence in his daily activities. He didn't become perfect, but he regained clarity. That's life-changing. This brings us to a crucial point. Cognitive decline is not just about memory. It's about independence. It's about being able to think clearly, make decisions, recognize loved ones, and maintain your sense of self. Once cognitive decline progresses too far, the risk of losing independence rises sharply, and loss of independence is one of the biggest threats to senior quality of life. That's why timing matters. Early brain damage responds better than advanced damage. Mild forgetfulness and occasional confusion are warning signs, not verdicts. They are signals telling you something needs to change. Now, let me give you a simple, practical way to take control for the next 2 to 4 weeks. Remove all seed oils from your home completely. Read every ingredient label and avoid soybean, canola, corn, sunflower, safflower, and generic vegetable oils. Cook only with olive oil, coconut oil, butter, or ghee. Eliminate packaged and processed foods as much as possible. Eat more fatty fish, leafy greens, and berries. Walk for 15 minutes daily when possible. And if you haven't had your B vitamin levels checked, ask for it. Do not change medications on your own, but be aware of their potential impact on nutrients. Observe what happens. Pay attention to your mental clarity. Many seniors notice sharper thinking, better memory, and improved mood. Even small improvements matter because they tell you the damage is not yet fixed in stone. Here's something I want to say very clearly. Anyone promising a miracle cure for cognitive decline is not being honest. But anyone telling you nothing can be done is also wrong. There is a wide space in between, and that's where real progress lives. Cognitive decline is often the result of years of quiet inflammation. It makes sense that improvement takes time, but stopping the poison is always the first step.